Good evening, race fans, and welcome back to Clutch Kickers Racing for an all-new, brand-new racing league just starting this week, this Saturday just gone. We're starting our Formula 1 or Super Formula League in Gran Turismo 7, and it is an absolutely stacked league with only one position still available, which is in the Alpine team. Now, for those of you that were following our Group 3 league, we did round that off a couple of weeks ago. Unfortunately, the attendance for the last race was a little lacking, so we didn't bother with the replay. But for those of you that were following, Velikor did win the Drivers' Championship, followed by Aaron Thompson in second place and Hoo-Ha in third place. Those three guys rounding out the podium for the championship. And in regards to the team's championship, the CKR Red team, consisting of Velikor and Boothie, did win the team's championship. So congratulations to all of those guys. But moving on, we're here for a whole new season, whole new league. There's a bunch of new guys, new faces, new drivers all here, and no one knows what's going to happen. But round one here, so we're looking at 40 laps around Lago Maggiore in the Super Formulas. Now, you'll notice that in regards to the teams in this league, we're running essentially Formula 1 teams or constructors teams. So every driver was given a teammate at random, and then all of the teams were drawn at random. So no one got to pick who their teammate was. No one got to pick what team they were representing. But you'll notice that the grid consists of Mercedes, Red Bull, Alfa Romeo, McLaren, AlphaTauri, Alpine, Ferrari, and I'm leaving one out. Oh, Aston Martin. That's the last one. But while we're here, we'll quickly go through the qualifying order for round one of the Super Formula League here. So we've got Velikor on pole position in the Mercedes AMG, followed by Rudzi in second position representing the Red Bull, followed by CC21 in third position in the Aston Martin, followed by MSR Spud, who's one of the new guys in the league this time. He is driving one of the Alfa Romeo cars. He is followed by John Citizen in fifth position, who is Rudzi's teammate in the Red Bull, followed by Aaron Thompson in sixth position, who's Velikor's teammate in the Mercedes. He is followed by Josh H in seventh, who is in the McLaren, and his teammate Hales is right behind him in eighth position, also in the McLaren. Then we've got EJ20, who is the only driver currently in the Alpine team, so he's currently looking for a teammate. He's in ninth position, followed by Boothie in 10th position in the Ferrari, who's unfortunately his teammate wasn't able to attend this race. He's followed by Sakjem, who is the other Alfa Romeo driver in 11th position, who's followed by Bolts, who is CC21's teammate in the Aston Martin team, and then we've got Hoo-Ha rounding out the back of the grid in the AlphaTauri, and unfortunately Kiwi, who is Hoo-Ha's teammate, wasn't able to attend this race as well. But without further ado, guys, I've been talking far too long now. Let's get started, shall we? And they're away. Looks like Velikor gets away really well. Unfortunately, Rudzi's had a really poor launch. He's gone from third. He dropped quite a few positions, unfortunately. But Velikor leads the way into turn one. He's followed by CC21 and MSR Spud, who's made up a couple of positions at the start of the race here. We've got Aaron Thompson in fourth position, who's followed by John Citizen. And looks like EJ20 has unfortunately gone off. Run really wide on that corner there. But for now, we've got Velikor leading the race as they come down into the high-speed Sector 2 here, or it's the beginning of Sector 2. And we'll quickly go through the grid order after the chaos of the launch of the race there. We've got Velikor in position 1, or P1, followed by CC21 in P2. MSR Spud currently taking up P3, and he's followed very closely by Aaron Thompson in P4. And then we've got John Citizen behind him, followed by Josh H in 6th position, who does unfortunately pick up a 1.5 second penalty there for corner cutting. So he's going to have to serve that at the end of the Sector 2 here, coming down the straight. We'll keep an eye on this. He does the right thing, moving over to the right side of the track, allowing all of the grid to go by him, and unfortunately, due to the fact that the grid is so condensed here, that 1.5 second penalty is extremely punishing. We've got Hoo-Ha currently sitting behind Josh in 12th position, EJ20 in 13th position. But we'll go back to the race leader for now, Velikor, who has had an absolutely blistering start. He's already put a fairly significant amount of time between himself and CC21 here as they come around to the end of lap 1 here, coming around the last corner now. And Velikor's probably got about maybe even close to a 1 second lead already, so absolutely driving the car on the limit for lap 1 here. Well, we might actually go for a quick onboard lap with Velikor here for lap 2. And I'll mute my mic real quick as we follow Velikor around Lago Maggiore, who is currently the race leader. as we can see, Bellicourt coming around the final corner now. What an absolutely rocket pace lap that was. Well, what time's this going to be? 128.711 for Bellicourt, which is currently the fastest lap of the race, and it's only lap 2 now. And that sort of pace, I can only assume that a lot of you guys may have potentially driven the formulas around this track. If you have, you'll know that lap time is absolutely phenomenal. But CC21 currently lapping back in second place, and Bellicourt's probably already gapped in by about 3 to 4 seconds at this point. So Bellicourt is showing extreme pace in the early stages of this race. We've got Aaron Thompson back in third position. He's going to be hunting CC21 as hard as he can, pushing that car to its absolute limit. And I think now that we're in lap 2, we'll probably see a lot of these guys using a lot of their overtake in order to try and get maximum pace out of the car while the tyres are fresh. And we've got Rudzi lapping in P4 at the moment, doing a fantastic job in the Red Bull. He's followed by his teammate John Citizen, and it did look like John actually conceded position to Rudzi. Maybe a bit of team orders going on there due to the fact that Rudzi could have potentially been showing a little more pace. But yeah, it did look like John backed off and let Rudzi by with no issues in order to give Rudzi an opportunity to catch the guys in front of him. And we've got MSR Spud in the Alfa Romeo currently lapping around in position 6. He is one of the new guys as well, so we'll make sure we go for an onboard lap with him at some stage in this race, as well as Halsey JH, who's currently in 7th position. And unfortunately a little bit of lag there for Halsey. But for all of you guys that do play Gran Turismo, you may have actually noticed that after the most recent patch that they did, the lobbies for a lot of people are much laggier, which is really unfortunate. A lot of the guys that are showing lag in this race today are drivers that did compete in our previous seasons, in our previous leagues, and never showed any lag. So it's really interesting that after the most recent patch, all of a sudden there's much more lag in the lobbies. But Halsey is currently followed by Josh H, who is his teammate in the McLaren team. So it'll be interesting to see how much these guys battle each other, and if they even do battle each other. If Josh is showing more pace, it might be better for Halsey just to let him by, in all honesty. And the bolts there, unfortunately, with a bit of an incident on lap 4. We do actually have a couple of replays to check out, so we'll go back to the race leader Bellicourt and follow his perspective for a little bit while we have a look at a couple of replays. So this is a lap 2 incident with Spud here. I'm not entirely sure what happened here, but we'll take a quick look at it. And as you can see, he's just run a little bit wide on the corner entry there, put the car in the grass and spun it, which is really unfortunate. Did cost him a couple of positions, but Spud is currently up in 6th position at the moment, so it looks like he's making up for lost time there. And they've got another incident with Sackgem and Boothie here, and as you can see, Sackgem just getting a little bit late on the brakes and punting Boothie there. Unfortunately, quite hard, putting Boothie through the sand trap there and into the wall. That ended up costing Boothie about 20 seconds of time in the race, which will unfortunately result in a points penalty for Sackgem there. And then we've got an incident with Bolts here on the start of lap 4, the start of his lap 4. As you can see him coming around the first corner there into the second one. And looks like he may have just given the car a little bit too much throttle and lost the rear end, which is quite unfortunate for Bolts there. But it's all happening in the early stages of this race, ladies and gentlemen. Bellicourt still leading the race, lapping absolutely rapidly and consistently in the early parts of this race, as he comes around about halfway through lap 5 at the moment. And as you can see, the gap between him and CC21 is very quickly increasing. So in the early stages of this race on their soft tyre stints, I do believe that both Bellicourt and CC21 both ran the soft tyres at the start of the race here. It would appear that Bellicourt just has completely unmatched pace on this tyre compound at this stage of the race. But Aaron Thompson is only about maybe 1 to 1.5 seconds behind CC21 here, so the pressure is definitely still on CC. If he does slip up, Aaron will be right there in order to take that position. And then we've got Rudzi and John, who are having a bit of a battle amongst themselves here. I'm not really sure if they're battling, more so just that Rudzi could potentially just be giving John a slipstream, trying to catch the guys ahead of them and maximize the amount of the points that their team can score. But yeah, both Red Bull drivers in a really strong position at the moment. I'm sure Rudzi's kicking himself after his launch, losing what appeared to be anywhere between about 5 to 6 places off the start there. So Rudzi did qualify in 3rd place. He absolutely has pace for a podium contender. He's just got to get his head down, get the work done, and hope and pray that the guys ahead of him, make a little slip up here and there, which allows him to close that gap a little. But as we come to the end of lap 6 here, we'll quickly do a quick grid order sort of check, as we've got Velikor still confidently lapping around in P1, followed by CC21 in the Aston Martin in P2. He's followed by Aaron Thompson, who's Velikor's teammate in P3, so the Mercedes team sitting in a really strong position at the moment, followed by Rudzi and John Citizen back in P4 and P5. The Red Bull guys doing a fantastic job so far. They're followed by MSR Spud, who's currently holding on to a half-second penalty for corner cutting. MSR Spud is in the Alfa Romeo. He's followed by Halesy, JH and Josh H, who are both the McLaren boys, having a fantastic race so far. They're followed by EJ20 in the Alpine. Absolutely beautiful livery. That one's got to be one of my favorite, if not my favorite livery in the league. Just gorgeous. He's followed by Sakjem, the other Alfa Romeo boy. Also another new guy. So EJ20 and Sakjem are both new contenders in Clutch Kickers. This is their first race in the Clutch Kickers League. So welcome to the league, boys. Welcome to the team. I hope you're enjoying it, and I'm looking forward to seeing what you guys can do in the future. And they're followed by Hoo-Ha back in P11, Bolts in P12, doing a great job in the Aston Martin, and then we've got Boothie back in P13, who did unfortunately have that incident with Sakjem, which cost him a fairly significant amount of time, so he's going to be, pressure's on for Boothie here in order to make up as much of that lost time as he possibly can. But as we come back to Velikor now, we might actually go for as a lot of the guys come around now, we'll go on board with MSR Spud here. He is one of the new guys. I will mute my microphone and we'll do an onboard lap with Spud here. As we come to the end of MSR Spud's lap here, and that was a pretty good lap actually. Well, it'll be interesting to see what time that was. That was a 1:30.9 by the looks of it, so that's really good pace by MSR Spud in the early stages of this race here on what would be sort of half-worn soft tyres at this stage. So he's doing a fantastic job. We've got Halesy JH here sitting back in 7th position and Josh H in 8th position. And we do actually have a couple of replays to check out from lap 7 here. We've got an incident with Aaron Thompson. I'm not really sure what happened here. Looks like he's gone, yeah, it's a little bit wide on the entry to the corner there. Didn't spin the car, but did have to back off quite a lot and concede position to Rudzi there. He was able to stay ahead of John Citizen. But yeah, very unfortunate mistake by Aaron Thompson there. And then we've got an incident with Hoo-Ha as he comes around the corner here. Not entirely sure what happened. It looks like he just ran a little bit wide, put the car on the grass, and lost the rear end, kicking the rear end of the car out, ending up in the wall there. So that's very unfortunate for Hoo-Ha. But on board with Josh H right now as he comes around the fast-paced Sector 2, down along the big straight here into the sweeping right-hand hairpin. And he's doing a fantastic job. The improvements from Josh H between the Group 3 cars and the Formula cars has been really night and day. So really, really good job by Josh H there. We've got EJ20 lapping back in ninth position. I got the hiccups, sorry. Back in 9th position. He is a fair way behind Josh H at the moment. Looks like there's about a 10-second gap between those guys, so not entirely sure what happened there. And then we've got Sakjem back in P10. And looks like Hoo-Ha has had another incident, unfortunately. So Hoo-Ha really struggling to come to grips with these cars, and we'll check out the replay of that one and see exactly what happened. And yeah, looks like he's just carried a lot of pace through the corner, lost the rear of the car and just wasn't quite able to catch it. So Hoo-Ha really battling with this car in the early stages of this race at the moment. Hopefully he can come to grips. As I said, Hoo-Ha was one of the fastest guys in the Group 3 league, so he's definitely got a lot of potential. He's a really quick driver. It just seems as though he's really struggling to come to grips with these Super Formula cars at the moment. They are an entirely different beast. But Velikor is still rapidly lapping. We'll stay on board with him as he comes around the end of his lap here and see what sort of lap times he's running as he approaches the end of his 9th lap of the race here. And he comes around the last corner now. Absolutely full throttle through that corner. And that's a 1:30.1 by the looks of it. We'll go on board with CC here and see what sort of lap times he's running. And yeah, so CC's looking at lapping around about the 1:31.1, so he is averaging about 1 second a lap slower than Velikor at the moment, and that does reflect in the gap between the two guys as well. So at the moment it would appear that Velikor is roughly about 10 seconds ahead of CC21, and it looks like Rudzi has managed to catch Aaron Thompson and take P3 here as well. So that's a fantastic job by Rudzi, showing exceptional pace, making up for lost ground for his mistake at the start of the race there. But Aaron Thompson currently lapping back in 4th position. And then we've got MSR Spud back in 5th position, so he has managed to catch John Citizen and gain a position in the last couple of laps as well. So he's showing really good pace. Fantastic job by Spud. But John Citizen is right on the tail end of Spud here, so we'll watch this battle for a little bit and see what happens. As John utilises the slipstream, in the high-speed Sector 2 here. And as they come around the straight, if John is able to stay in his slipstream and utilise a bit of his overtake, he might be able to actually catch him down into the right-hand hairpin here. But he doesn't look like he's going to be able to get the job done, unfortunately. He is a little bit too far back. And we've got a replay of an incident with Sakjem here on lap 10. We'll take a quick look at that, as he just goes a little bit wide, puts the car in the sand, and loses the rear end of the car. Unfortunately spinning it, costing himself a couple of seconds there, which is very, very unfortunate. And it looks like Bolts was able to gain a position on him there as well. So that puts Sakjem back in 11th position, who has actually managed to already... sorry, I showed the replay a little bit early there, but yeah, that's a second take of that one for you. And back to our race leader now, Velikor. We might actually follow one of the new guys. We'll go on board with Halesy JH here, who's this is his first race with the Clutch Kickers Racing League, and he's doing a fantastic job so far. And we might do a bit of an onboard lap with Halesy JH here, as I'll mute my microphone, and we'll take us around in the McLaren. And we come to the end of Halesy's onboard ride lap here, and as you can see, there we go, right camera angle. As you can see, we've done a couple of onboard laps now with Velikor and Spud and Halesy, and you can certainly see that a lot of the guys are, using different gears, taking different lines through the corners. So there's definitely a very, very big difference in versatility of driving style amongst the grid, which is really good to see. And as you can see, Halesy showing a bit of lag there, which is a bit unfortunate, but nothing too dramatic. And then we've got Josh Haight sitting back in P8, and EJ20, who is currently sitting in P9. He's also one of our new guys, so we'll do a quick onboard with him. I won't mute my microphone this time as he comes around the corner here. And we might do a cockpit view for this one, just so I can see the gears that he's taken. Up into 4th gear, up into 5th gear as he comes down into the sweeping right-hand corner here. And onto the brakes, down into 3rd. Unfortunately misses the apex, does run a little wide, which would have cost him a couple of hundreds there, but he'll get up into 5th gear here. No, he doesn't shift off to 5th, stays in 4th. And missing a couple of the apexes there, costing him a little bit of valuable time through the high-speed sector 2 there. That sector is really make or break for the laps. And he's currently half a second down on his fastest time, so... And it's very interesting, actually. EJ not managing to hit 6th gear down the straight there, so could potentially be that he's running a stretched gearing setup, I guess you could call it. But yeah, stretched gearing setup, not quite able to hit 6th gear down the straight there. So EJ, mate, if you do watch this replay, it might be worth. You ideally want to be hitting 6th gear on the straight of every track, mate. So what you want to do is just turn down your gearing ratio slightly, shorten your gears so that you are hitting 6th gear and getting the maximum amount of top speed out of the car. But we finish EJ's onboard lap there as he puts the car in the grass on the straight there. Not really sure what happened, but yeah, as I said, EJ is one of the new guys, so welcome to the league, EJ. I hope you enjoyed the race, mate, and I'm looking forward to seeing what you can do in the future. And as we come around to the start of lap 13 here with Velikor, I say start, he's about halfway through lap 13, and he is approaching one of the back markers, Boothie here, so we'll see if Boothie gives him any trouble or just gets out of the way. Boothie is a really respectable driver, so I imagine that he'll probably just get out of the way as he holds the inside light around the corner there. Moves well and truly out of the way for Velikor to go on by without holding him up too much. So that's a really fantastic job by Boothie there, showing proper blue flag, rule following procedures. But yeah, we've got Velikor currently lapping in P1 as we come to about the midway point of lap 14 here. He is followed by CC21, followed by Rudzy in P3, who is only about maybe 6 or so seconds behind CC21. So Rudzy is lapping at a really rapid pace at the moment and making up a lot of ground on CC21. It'll be interesting to see if in a couple of laps time Rudzy is able to catch him. But Rudzy is followed by Aaron Thompson currently in P4. MSR Spud sitting back in P5, followed very, very closely by John Citizen. So these guys are still going hard at it, absolutely battling for position. And they're followed by Halsey JH and Josh H, both in P7 and P8 in the McLaren, followed by EJ20 in the Alpine, Bolts in the Aston Martin, Boothie in the Ferrari, Sakjem in the Alfa Romeo, and Hoo-Ha lapping back in P13. But we've got a couple of replays to check out here, actually. We've got a lap 12 incident with Boothie here that we'll have a quick look at. As you can see him coming around the corner here, a bit of a wide entry, ends up putting it on the grass and losing the rear end of the car there, which is a bit of a pattern in the race so far. A lot of these guys just clipping the grass, and because the lobby settings are set to realistic off-track grip, mate, you put a Formula 1 car in the grass and it's practically death. You definitely don't want to be doing that. But yeah, Velikor still absolutely cruising around. Comfortably leading this race at the moment. He's got probably about a 10 to 15 second lap over CC21 at the moment, as they both start their lap 15. But doing a fantastic job so far. As we've got John Citizen still hot on the heels of MSR Spud here. We might actually go for an onboard lap with John Citizen here and see what gears he's taken through the corners, and just assess his driving style as well. It's really interesting to see, especially in these Formula cars. The difference in driving style, the difference in racing line that these guys decide to take as John Citizen gets up into 5th gear and then immediately back down into 3rd. Now, you would have noticed from the other onboard laps that a lot of the other guys are taking that corner in 2nd, so it seems as though John Citizen prefers to take the higher gear through a lot of these corners as he hits 6th gear down the straight here, down into 4th position, and again, a lot of the other guys taking that corner in 4th gear. But a lot of the other guys taking that 3rd gear as he gets up into 5th gear early on in the Sector 2 here, and holding a lot of speed, barely lifting the throttle. That's a beautiful line by John there. He actually made up a couple of tenths on MSR Spud through that section, so that's fantastic job by John there through Sector 2. And he's hitting 6th gear, 296 kilometers an hour, down into 3rd, hugging the inside apex there, clipping the outside, and that's a beautiful job by John. And that's a really clean sector, actually. As you can see, he has actually gained quite significantly on Spud. And interesting, again, John choosing to take 5th gear through those 2 corners. A lot of the other guys going down to 4th in order to get the car to turn in a little better. So John obviously just having a bit better throttle control in the higher gears of these cars. But yeah, another great example of just the difference in driving style and preference of gears through the corners. As we do have a replay to check out with EJ20. He had an incident on lap 15, so we'll take a real quick look at that. And I barely even caught that, but he looks like he put the car on the grass and just spun it again, which is really unfortunate. Didn't lose himself too much time, only a couple seconds, but yeah, still. And we've got John Citizen right on the right on the tail of MSR Spud here, as they come around the sweeping right-hander there, coming up into Sector 2 now into the high-speed section. If Spud's able to maintain full throttle through this section, John won't catch him, and it looks like he's able to do it. That's a beautiful line by Spud through the section there, and they've both got a yellow flag, so no overtaking under the yellow flags. Looks like Sackgem might have potentially just gone off track slightly. MSR Spud's Alfa Romeo partner there, as they both lap him under blue flag conditions. But Spud having a beautiful Sector 2 there, managing to give himself a bit of breathing room between himself and John. And this is just great racing. Nice, clean, consistent laps by both of these guys, doing an absolutely fantastic job. And we've got a Josh H now lapping. It looked like maybe Hoo-Ha potentially. I'm not sure. I didn't quite catch it. So a couple of it was Hoo-Ha. A couple of blue flags waving for some of the back markers in the early stages of this race here. Unfortunately, some of them just making a couple of mistakes that have cost them quite dearly. So we've got Sackgem going for the early pit stop, lap 15, and already changing his tyres. Now, for those of you that are planning on following this league, we do have a rule in place where you do have to run 2 different compounds of tyre. You need to run a set of softs and you need to run a set of mediums for every race. And if you don't follow that rule, if you don't run both compound of tyres, you do get a minute penalty at the end of the race, so it is extremely punishing. But Sackgem being the first one to pull the trigger going into the pits, and then we've got Hoo-Ha going into the pits as well. Now it's really interesting, it looks like Hoo-Ha actually started the race on the medium compound, so from what I can see, Hoo-Ha is the only driver that started the race on the medium compound, so if I am correct, he should be throwing on a pair of softs here. Yes, he has put the racing softs on, so Hoo-Ha opting for the medium, and it could potentially be that Hoo-Ha is on a 2-stop strategy here as EJ20 unfortunately losing the car there. We'll take a look at that replay in a second, but yeah, Hoo-Ha could potentially be on a 2-stop strategy here. It also looks like Velicor's gone in for his pit stop too. So he'll be going from the soft to the medium as he starts his lap 18. But we'll have a real quick look at this this incident with EJ20 here. That's the one we looked at before. My bad. But yeah, EJ having a bit of an incident there. So both the Mercedes boys, Velicor and Aaron, as you can see, both in the pits, as he'll change over to his medium tyres now. So both of them obviously sharing race strategies and deciding what the lap critical is in regards to where they're dropping too much time on the softs and where to change over to the mediums. But as we approach coming up to the midway through lap 18 now, I think we'll start to see a lot of the grid opting to change out their soft tyres for the mediums, as the softs are starting to get a bit worn at this point, and they're sacrificing a bit too much lap time. But due to the fact that Velicor did just pit and CC21 hasn't pitted yet, minus Boothie, who will have the blue flags in front of CC, and he moves over there, so that's a brilliant job by Boothie. The gap between CC21 and Velicor now only about maybe 3 or 4 seconds. But as I said, CC21 hasn't pitted yet, so he will have to pit, which will extend the gap between the two of them out to what it should realistically reflect in regards to track position. But CC21 doing an absolutely fantastic job in this race, showing nice consistent pace. We might actually go for an onboard lap with CC here, as I don't think we've done that this race just yet. But yeah, CC absolutely fantastic job, maintaining second position. and just lapping really consistently, really comfortably. Unfortunately, at this point, not quite able to match the pace of Velikor, who is just lapping absolutely rapidly, lap after lap, doing a fantastic job and keeping it clean as well. But yeah, for CC to be maintaining second position here, that's definitely nothing to frown upon. So great job by CC21 so far. And it looks like MSR Spud has just left the pits, changing from the softs to the mediums. He's left the pits in 5th position. Aaron Thompson just behind him. And that's a beautiful line by CC21 through Sector 2 there. As you can see, full throttle the entire way. These cars are an absolute pleasure to drive through that sector. And as you can see again, CC currently lapping 1.5 seconds slower than his fastest lap time. So those soft tyres are really punished at the moment. He is losing a considerable amount of time lap on lap. So it'll be interesting to see if he does decide to pull the trigger and pit now and change those tyres. Because by the looks of it, I imagine that the pace he's doing right now on those worn soft tyres is roughly about the same pace he'll be doing on a set of medium fresh tyres. So these are the things you have to consider when it comes to, when do you change your tyres in the race. But CC coming around. Final corner of his lap here, choosing to stay out and begin his lap 20 without changing the tyres, which is really interesting. And we've currently got John Citizen and Rudzi back in 3rd and 4th position, so neither of these guys have pitted, which is what gave them the track position over Aaron Thompson. But as you can see, these two guys absolutely neck and neck at the moment. It'll be interesting to see whether or not they battle or someone concedes a position. But we do have a lap 19 replay to check out with Aaron here, as we'll have a real quick look at that. I think this is actually a pretty bad mistake by Aaron, if I'm not mistaken. But as you can see him coming around the first corner there, going into the second right-hander. Unfortunately, downshifts the car into first gear whilst in a high RPM range. And if you do that in these formula cars, it will just cause the rear end of the car to kick out, which is really unfortunate. But yeah, John Citizen and Rudzi here having an absolutely beautiful battle. Well, I say battle, they're more so just providing slipstreams to each other and maximising the amount of pace that the both of them can get, which is really, really cool. But yeah, we're sort of at or just past the mid or halfway point of the race at this stage, and still a fair few guys on the grid that haven't pitted yet, so choosing or opting to do the longest stints on the soft compound tyre, which is very, very interesting. It's really cool to see the difference in race strategies by a lot of these guys. And as you can see, Rudzi getting by Bolts there, with the blue flags waving for Bolts, and it looks like CC21 is pulling into the pits now at the end of his lap 20, so finally coming to grips with the fact that he's just losing a bit too much lap time on those old softs. Time to chuck a fresh pair of mediums on. And for this league as well, in order to replicate Formula 1 racing conditions as much as possible, we've opted to have no fuel usage, only tyre usage. So basically what that means is that the pit stops are nice and fast. All you need to do is change tyres, and there's no refueling in the pit stops, just like the real F1 cars. They basically put enough fuel in it at the start of the race to get you to the end, and there's no refueling. But yeah, John Citizen currently lapping in P3, followed hotly by his teammate Rudzi in P4. As we come around to the midway point of lap 21 here, we'll do a quick grid order check, as we've got Velikor still lapping around in P1, just having an absolutely superb race so far. Really no competition for him whatsoever. He's had free air from pretty much the start of the race for the whole time, and you ask any of the guys that have raced with Velikor and they'll tell you, once you give him free air, if you just let him go, there's absolutely no chance that you're going to catch him. He's just absolutely rapid lap after lap. The only real way you'll beat him is to overtake him at the start of the race and keep him behind you, which is much, much easier said than done. But Velikor finishing his lap 21 there, starting lap 22, currently in P1 with about looks like about a 20-second gap over CC21, currently lapping in P2. CC is followed by John Citizen in P3, who's followed by Rudzi in P4, who I don't believe either of these guys have pitted for their tyre changes just yet. But these guys absolutely neck and neck. Look at this. What an absolutely epic battle these two are having. Fantastic to see. But we've got MSR Spud back in P5, who is followed by Aaron Thompson in P6, who is currently holding on to a half a second penalty for corner cutting, which is very unfortunate. They're followed by Halsey JH in P7 in the McLaren and Josh H in P8 also in the McLaren. And it looks like the gap between Halsey and Josh H at the moment is around about 10 to 15 seconds. So it would appear that one of those, Josh H, it would appear that Josh H may have either made a mistake or potentially pitted, and Halsey hadn't pitted. But it looks like Halsey just came out of the pits there. So, yeah. But we've got EJ20 lapping around in P9, followed by Bolts in P10, Boothie in P11, Hoo-Ha in P12, and Sakjem lapping in P13 at the moment. But we do have a couple of replays to check out at the moment. So we've got a lap 20 incident with Sakjem here, so we'll take a real quick look at that and see exactly what happened. As you can see him coming down into the sweeping right-hander here, down into third gear, hugs the inside apex, unfortunately goes wide on the corner exit, puts the car in the sand, and does lose it. So very unfortunate incident for Sakjem there. And that does cost him a couple of positions as well. So yeah, Sakjem currently on the back foot at the moment, trying to make up for some lost time. And yeah, we've got another incident with Hoo-Ha on lap 22 here. We'll take a real quick look at that, see exactly what happened. I don't believe Hoo-Ha... Oh, sorry, no, Hoo-Ha did pit. Hoo-Ha was the first one to pit, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, going a little bit too deep in the corner there. Same corner as well as Sakjem's incident. So that sweeping right-hand corner catching out a few people. But yeah, opposite problem to Sakjem, who ran wide. Unfortunately, Hoo-Ha just went a little bit too deep into the corner entry and clipped the grass there. And unfortunately, that really is all it takes in these Formula cars. As I've said, once you touch the grass, that's the end. It's really, really difficult to keep these cars under control once the rear end, or once the tires, have a bit of grass or dirt on them. Bud Velikor now coming around about halfway point of his lap 23 here. And we'll check out the rest of the grid. CC21 currently free air, both in front and behind him. Just trying to maximize the amount of pace he can get out of these, fresh set of medium tires that he's just put on only a couple laps ago. They should be sort of worn in by now and nice and warm. And we've got Rudzy in P3, so it looks like John did pit at some stage, but I don't believe. I'm not sure if Rudzy pitted yet. I didn't quite catch it. But yeah, Rudzy in P3, followed by MSR Spud in P4, Aaron Thompson in P5, John Citizen in P6. And have a look at this, would you? Aaron Thompson and John Citizen, probably only about half a second between them. So we'll follow this for a bit and see if anything happens here. As Aaron's approaching the back end of Boothie here, Boothie will have the blue flags waving. So with John hot on his heels, I'm sure Aaron doesn't want Boothie to hold him up too much. And I am sure that Boothie will not do that. I'm sure he'll get out of the way and allow him by. As Aaron comes around the final corner here, unfortunately putting it in the grass there, but luckily not spinning the car. And we'll actually go for an onboard lap with Aaron here, as again he's approaching the rear end of Boothie. And you can see John Citizen right on his rear end there. Aaron getting a little squirrely through that sector there, as you can see, running wide on that corner, which would have given John an opportunity as they come down the straight here. As you can see, John Citizen with the better corner exit up along the inside of Aaron here and holding the line. And John Citizen getting the job done on Aaron Thompson in the sweeping right-hand corner. That's a beautiful overtake by John Citizen there. Absolutely full throttle through Sector 2. Aaron Thompson trying to make up as much lost time as he possibly can with John Citizen's overtake there. But it looks like John's had an absolutely rapid Sector 2. Made up a fairly significant amount of ground on Aaron. Aaron able to make up a good amount of ground on John in the corner exit from the hairpin back there. And this is absolutely epic. I must say, I do love this camera angle. It is an absolutely beautiful angle. Aaron going a little bit wide there. That's going to cost him a couple of tenths or potentially a couple of hundreds this lap. And as you can see, John Citizen pulling away. So unfortunately, Aaron making a little bit of a slip up at the end of his lap there. Oh no. Oh, he's able to catch it. I don't know how he managed that. But as you can see, Hoo-Ha unfortunately having a bit of an incident on that lap there as well. We'll take a look at the replay for that one. coming around the final corner there, and just lost the rear end of the car. Wasn't quite able to catch it, which is really unfortunate. But we'll go through the grid real quick. I don't think we've done a bit of an onboard ride with EJ just yet. He is again one of the new guys, so I will mute my mic, and we'll go for a bit of an onboard with EJ here. My apologies, by the way. We have actually done an onboard lap with EJ, but that's okay. We'll stick with it. And EJ coming around to finish his lap 24 now. I think the only person we haven't done an onboard lap with so far is Sakjam, so we might do that real quick. And again, I will mute my microphone and we'll go for a bit of an onboard ride with Sakjam here. And that is very unfortunate. Of all of the laps that we could have done an onboard ride with, unfortunately we picked the one that he makes a bit of a mistake on, running wide on the corner exit there, putting the car in the grass. So really unfortunate mistake by Sakjam there, but you know, happens to everyone eventually, mate. And we've got Velikor starting his lap 27 now, who is again approximately about 30 seconds or so in front of CC21 here. So even on these medium compound tyres, CC21 just not able to match the pace of Velikor, unfortunately. Velikor pulling out anywhere between about half a second to a full second on CC21 every lap. But again, that's not to say that CC is having a bad race at all. He's actually having a fantastic race. Beautiful, clean, consistent laps, absolutely minimal mistakes, if any. I don't think I've seen him make a single mistake yet. So CC is doing a beautiful job so far. And then we've got Rudzy back in P3, who's had an excellent recovery drive so far. Again, Rudzy going from 3rd position back into about 8th or 9th position on the first lap due to a bad start. And managed to fight his way back up into 3rd position. So Rudzy's doing an exceptionally good job so far. And Rudzy is followed by MSR Spud, who is only about, I'd say about maybe 6 to 10 seconds behind Rudzy at this stage. So the battle is absolutely still on between these guys. And then behind MSR Spud, we've got John Citizen, who's about maybe 15 or so seconds behind MSR Spud. And John Citizen is followed closely by Aaron Thompson. So these two guys still battling it out. And as we'll follow Aaron Thompson here as he makes his way through Sector 2 of lap 27 here, we do have a couple of replays to check out. We've got a lap 24 replay with John with his overtake on Aaron Thompson here. And as you can see, more straight line speed down the straight edge, shoots it down the inside. Aaron Thompson giving him plenty of room there. And that's just a beautiful, clean overtake. They did knock wheels a little there, but again, respect given by both drivers. Plenty of room to get the job done. And then we've got an incident with Hoo-Ha on lap 25 here. And again, I actually think we've already watched this one. But yeah, losing the rear end of the car on the final corner there and not quite able to catch it. And then we've got another incident with Hoo-Ha. Unfortunately having the race from hell. Really struggling to come to grips with these cars. But lap 27 and Hoo-Ha... let's take a look and see what happens here. And yeah, again, unfortunately losing the rear end of that car. So really struggling to... maintain traction in the rear end of the car. Could potentially be a setup issue with Hoo-Ha. We don't run balance of power in the lobbies with these Formula cars, so all of the grid and teams are able to run their own unique and custom setups, which a lot of them are doing. And a lot of the teammates also sharing their setups as well, which is really excellent to see. We've got Boothie repping that absolutely beautiful Ferrari livery. One of my favourite Formula 1 liveries. You can't go wrong with the classic red. Unfortunately, Boothie probably not having the race that he was hoping for. Yeah, a couple of incidents here and there, and the big incident with Sack Jam at the start of the race on lap 2 costing him quite dearly. But he's on a relatively decent recovery drive so far, doing a fantastic job. And it'll be interesting to see, what he's able to pull out of the bag in the future races in the season. And we've got Sack Jam back in P12. Having an absolutely fantastic race as he comes down around the sweeping right-hander here. Did unfortunately miss the apex, but overall not too bad. Pretty good line through that corner. And then we've got Hoo-Ha back in P13. Unfortunately, just as I said, very evidently needs to get a bit more practice in these cars and make himself familiar with how they handle and just how to keep control of the cars. But as I said, Hoo-Ha is an extremely good racer. Please don't let his results and his driving in this race fool you. He will come back in the next race, and I guarantee you he will be stronger than ever and competing with the front runners as we see him run wide and put the car in the wall there again. And oh my gosh, Hoo-Ha, mate. What a nightmare. What an absolute nightmare. But yeah, as I said, I have complete faith that Hoo-Ha will come back next week and be a completely different driver. And we've got Velikor about halfway through lap 30 now. We'll as we come to the last sort of quarter of the race here, the last 10 laps, we'll do a real quick grid order check. It looks like Velikor actually struggled to get by Halesy there. Halesy with the blue flags. Plenty of opportunities to let Velikor by much cleaner, but Velikor actually having to fight him a little bit in order to get by. But yeah, as we come, as I said, halfway through lap 30 here, last 10 laps of the race, and we will quickly do a grid order check as we've got Velikor sitting in P1, followed by CC21, about 30 seconds behind him in P2 at this stage of the race. He's followed by Rudsy, who's probably only about 10 to 15 seconds behind CC, currently sitting in P3, followed by MSR Spud in P4. And MSR Spud did actually pit what I think was a second time on that last lap, and choosing to put on another set of softs, which you absolutely can do. You can run as many soft compound tires as you like. The only rule is that you need to run a set of mediums at some stage in the race. But yeah, MSR Spud opting to go for the two-stop strategy, and could actually pay out for him here. He is only about maybe, I'd say, 15 to 20 seconds behind Rudsy. So on a fresh set of soft tires, if he is able to lap to around, on average 2 seconds quicker than Rudsy every lap, he could make up that gap. So this will be interesting to see and to find out whether or not that strategy pays off for him. But MSR Spud is followed by John Citizen, who at the moment is only really about maybe 5-6 seconds behind MSR Spud after Spud's second pit stop there. So, but again, due to the fact that Spud is on the fresh set of soft compound tyres, I would imagine that if Spud is able to keep it clean, he'll probably start to pull away from John a little bit. But John is followed by Aaron Thompson, and again, these guys are absolutely neck and neck. Aaron only about 2 to 3 seconds behind John Citizen as they come around the final corner of lap 30 here. Both of these guys having a relatively good race. Aaron has unfortunately made a couple of mistakes here and there, which has cost him a few track positions, but overall, a relatively good, consistent and clean race for Aaron. And Aaron's followed by Halsey JH in P7, followed by his teammate Josh H back in P8, and we've got EJ20 in P9, Bolts in P10, having a great race so far. Good job, Bolts. Followed by Boothie in P11, Sackgem in P12, who's unfortunately had a bit of an incident there. And then we've got Hoo-Ha back in P13. And Velikor now just starting the start of his lap 32 as we're coming towards the end of this race now. And yeah, again, just an absolutely flawless drive by Velikor from start to what is lap 32 now. I don't think I've seen him, put a single foot wrong. Absolutely flawless, consistent, rapid pace, lap after lap. It's a beautiful, beautiful drive by Velikor, which has given him you know, the significant gap that he has over the rest of the grid. And we've got Sakjem also opting to come in on lap 28 for what I kind of consume is a set of soft tyres. So yeah, both of the Alfa Romeo guys choosing to do a two-stop strategy. So definitely a bit of you know, team communication, team strategy going on there. Both of them, you know, potentially deciding that it might actually be worth, for the last, you know, 10-11 laps of this race, chuck a fresh set of softs on and maximize the amount of pace you can get out of the car for the end of the race. Not necessarily a bad idea, but it'll be interesting to see whether or not it pays off for them. And unfortunately, Sakjem on the fresh tyres, a little bit of understeer there, does put the car in the grass and spin it. So still coming to grips with the cold tyres there, I would say, and a really unfortunate mistake by Sakjem there. And we're back on board with Velikor now. Coming up into the sector 2 here. We'll go for a bit of a cockpit ride with Velikor through this sector. And as you can see, just absolutely full throttle, using as much of the curbs as you possibly can, maximizing the amount of lap time he's getting out of the car. And looked like about 293-ish kilometers per hour down that straight there, so beautiful top speed. As he appears to be approaching one of the back markers here. And we'll see if they give him any trouble. I'm sure they won't. And that's an absolutely beautiful line through those two corners there, maintaining fourth gear and just using the braking power of lifting the throttle. And Sakjem pulling over to the left-hand side there, letting Velikor through. Absolutely no issues whatsoever. That's a beautiful job by Sakjem there. And it looks like we've actually got someone else in the pits. I'm not entirely sure who this is. Hoo-ha. Hoo-ha opting to pit for another set of soft tyres there on lap 30. And I think that was a deliberate drive into the grass there in order to let the blue flag driver behind him go by. Didn't quite pay off too well as he spun the car on his rejoining of the track there. But yeah, I'd say Hoo-ha, accepting his fate in this race, has probably just decided to pit again and wanting to do another stint on the soft tyres to see how the car handles it. But yeah, Velikor still holding the fastest lap of the race at the moment with a 128.7, which, if I recall correctly, he actually set on lap 2 of the race. So he's held the fastest lap of the race now for 33 laps in a row. And from what I've seen, no one's even come close to that lap time yet. So Velikor deciding early on, you know what, I want that extra 3 points for the fastest lap of the race, and the fresh set of soft tyres is the best place to do it. So obviously deciding lap 2 was going to be his fastest lap, push lap, which I do believe we actually did an onboard with. So yeah, that you know, definitely paying off for him. You know, to get the most amount of pace out of the car while the tyres are fresh, and you've got all that overtake to use. It's definitely a smart strategy. Now we've actually got an incident to check out from lap 31 with Aaron here, so we'll take a real quick look at that. And it looks like he's just ran a little wide on one of the corners there. Put the car in the grass, easing off the throttle entirely so that the car didn't spin, which is definitely the right thing to do, but unfortunately losing a couple of seconds there. He is currently lapping in P6, so from what I understand, he didn't lose any track position, but it has put a fairly significant gap between himself and John Citizen here, and with only 6 laps left in the race, it's quite unlikely that he will catch John at this stage. So very unfortunate mistake by Aaron there. And we might actually follow Rudzy for a bit, do a bit of an onboard with Rudzy here. We'll go into the cockpit view as he's not long started his lap 35, but I will mute my microphone and we'll follow Rudzi for lap 35 of this race. And Rudzi now coming around last corner of his lap 35 here, having to lift the throttle slightly as he just got the entry to the corner there a little bit wrong, but not costing himself too much time at all. That's a beautiful lap by Rudzi there. We actually do have a lap 34 incident to check out here with Halsey, so we'll take a real quick look at that and check out exactly what happened. And coming down into the right-hand hairpin here. And yeah, okay, so a couple of drivers in the race now, unfortunately having that same sort of incident, going a little bit wide on the corner exit of the hairpin there, putting the car in the grass and just losing control of it. And we've got Velikor now about halfway through his lap 36, having an absolutely beautiful drive. He's approaching one of the back markers here. Looks like it's potentially Bolts in the Aston Martin. And we might go for another quick onboard lap with Velikor here. And that's the end of lap 37 with the onboard ride with Velikor there, and you can just see, you know, the difference in the consistency of the steering input is a really, really big deal in these cars. That's essentially where a lot of the faster guys get a lot of their pace from. You're not being too aggressive on the steering, just gently guiding the car through the corners. But yeah, that's a beautiful lap by Velikor there. He's followed by CC21 in P2. He's currently on lap 37. Coming around the final bend there, starting his lap 38. And Rudzi is still lapping in third position at the moment. He has got a fairly significant gap between CC21 and Rudzi, unfortunately, of probably about 15 seconds between the both of them. So as they come to the last 2 laps of this race, it's looking like the top 3 guys are all pretty comfortably sitting in their positions, as Rudzi gets a little bit sideways there. He's able to catch it, which is very fortunate for him. But yeah, potentially those medium tyres showing signs of wear there for Rudzi. Rudzi's followed by MSR Spud, who has just lapped one of the back markers, Josh H there. And Spud again had an absolutely phenomenal race. First race with clutch kickers and finishing fourth, in fourth position is definitely nothing to frown upon. That's an exceptionally good result for your first race in what is, a pretty tough league with some fairly fierce competition. So that's a really good job by Spud there. And he's followed by John Citizen in P5, and Aaron Thompson still sitting back in P6 with a lot of free air both in front and behind him. So for the last couple of laps of this race, I'd say he'll just put his head down, try not to make any mistakes, and just finish it on, bring it home in P6, and score a fairly decent amount of points for the Mercedes team. We've got Halesy, JH, and Josh H, both of the McLaren boys, sitting in P7 and P8, where they've been for majority of this race now. And again, just comfortably lapping. Relatively consistent lap times by both of these guys. They are actually pretty close, though, as you can see. Josh H only just behind Halesy here, so it'll be interesting to see, if Josh does put a move on Halesy, and if Halesy does surrender position. It'll be very, 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 very interesting to see, which of these two guys finishes ahead of one another. And they're followed by EJ20 back in 9th position, who currently has a blue flag waving. He's got John Citizen coming up the rear end of him. Followed by Boothie in P10 in the Ferrari. Bolts in P11 in the Aston Martin. And Hoo-Ha, who has actually managed to make a position on SACJAM. He's moved up into P12, so it's a great job there by Hoo-Ha. Those soft tyres obviously paying off for him in the end. Then we've got SACJAM back in P13, who does currently have a half-second penalty. So, but we'll go on board with Velikor here as he's going around for his final lap of the race. And again, absolutely phenomenal drive by Velikor from start to finish. Got off the line really well, got through the first couple of corners, and within, one lap, was able to put about half a second over second place, and just every lap on lap, consistently and rapidly lapping, and creating a really, really significant gap between himself and second place. So it looks like he's going to finish the race here with approximately about a 40-second gap between himself and second place. So absolutely commanding lead by Velikor, and just a masterclass. Definitely setting the standard of what the drivers are going to need to be able to do in order to get pole positions in this league. And it'll be very interesting in the races to come if anyone's able to challenge him. And we'll stay on board with Velikor here as he comes around the last couple of corners of his final lap. And as you can see, Velikor is rocking the number 1 on his car at the moment. He's currently the defending champion from the Group 3 League, which was the last season that we did. And a bit of a celebratory weave as he crosses the line. So congratulations, Velikor. First pole position of the league in the first race of the league. So that's a fantastic job. Now we'll go on board with CC21 here, who's also coming around last couple of corners of his lap now as he finishes off his Sector 3. And that's a beautiful drive by CC. Again, unfortunately not quite able to match the pace of Velikor, but still an absolutely superb drive in order to secure second position of this race. And he crosses the line now. Absolutely epic race by CC. We've got Rudzy cruising confidently back in P3. And again, what a beautiful recovery drive from Rudzy. I think it was P9 up into P3 after his absolutely shocking start, which I'm sure he would have been kicking himself about. But to finish on the podium after that, mate, is absolutely superb. Well done, mate. And then we've got Rudzy back here. Sorry, Spud, not Rudzy. Spud in P4. He crosses the line now, secure a P4 in his first ever race with Clutch Kickers Racing. And John Citizen coming around the final bend now to secure a P5. And Aaron Thompson also coming around the final bend now to secure P6. And that's the end of the race, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for sticking with us. We'll go through the grid order real quick. We've got Velikor in P1, CC21 in P2, Rudzy in P3, which is your podium. And then we've got MSR Spud in 4th, John in 5th, Aaron in 6th, Halesy in 7th, Josh H in 8th, EJ20 in 9th, Boothie in 10th, Bolt in 11th, Hoo-Ha in 12th, and Sakjam in 13th place. Really good race. Congratulations to all of the guys. Congratulations to the podiums. We'll take a real quick look at the drivers' standings after round 1 of the Super Formula League here, and as you can see, Velikor taking the 50 points for first place, as well as the additional 3 points for the fastest lap. So Velikor currently sitting in P1 of the Drivers' Championship, followed by CC21 and Rudzi rounding out the podium for the championship so far. And we'll take a real quick look at the team standings as well. Now, before I go over the points here, you will notice that a couple of the guys are in different teams to what the liveries that they ran in this race. So after this race, there was a bit of a shift to the teams due to a couple of issues that did arise. So in the future, the teams that you see here, they are the liveries that the guys will be running. But yeah, so we've got Velikor and Aaron Thompson in the Mercedes team currently sitting on 85 points. They're followed by the Red Bull team of Rudzi and John Citizen on 76, followed by the Aston Martin team of CC21 and EJ20, who was running the Alpine livery in that race. He has switched over to the Aston Martin team and joined CC21. They're on a combined total of 71, followed by the McLaren team of Halsey and Josh H, who were both midfield contenders in that race, but due to the fact that they both finished in the midfield, both of them scoring relatively good points, they're sitting on 58 points, followed by the Alfa Romeo team of Enspud and Sakjem on 48 points. Sakjem did unfortunately pick up a 10-point penalty for his incident with Boothie at the start of the race. And then we've got the Ferrari team of Boothie and Bolts. Now, again, you would have noticed Bolts was actually running in the Aston Martin team at the start of this race. He is now in the Ferrari team, so he'll be running the Ferrari livery for the rest of the league. They're sitting on a total of 46 points, and then we've got Hoo-Ha and Kiwi in the AlphaTauri team sitting on 22 points. Now, unfortunately, Kiwi wasn't able to attend this race, so he did not score any points for his team in this race. And then we've got the Alpine team of DPR Logan, who again wasn't at this race, and entrant number 16, which is actually an available spot in the league. So if any of you guys watching this are interested in participating, if you live in Australia or New Zealand and you're interested in participating in this league, just hit me up, leave me a comment, I'll get in touch with you. But essentially, we race every Saturday at 6:45 p.m. Sydney time. So if you're able to make those races, then hit us up, and you can secure the last spot and drive the Alpine livery. But yeah, that's it for now, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for checking out the race. Thank you for watching. Thank you for sticking around. Be sure to tune in next week for round 2, which will be 40 laps around Monza, and it's going to be absolutely epic. I'll see you all then. In the meantime, take it easy, stay safe. We'll talk soon.